All right, we'll set up the recording. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to move our faces over here. And our class, this class is, I actually, believe it or not, think this is a really fun class. Probably not for people that really need it, but 7 super stress busters. And I'm sharing this class partly because we're doing the immunity challenge this month, and because stress is such a huge factor for our immune systems, but also because we are heading into a stressful time for many people, right? It's October at the time that we're recording this. So the next couple of months are often pretty stressful for a lot of folks. So I hope this comes at a good time for you, and I hope that this is helpful. I don't cover a lot of the basic same old, same old. Some of the topics may seem familiar or things you've heard before, but I think the spin and twist that I share tonight will give you something that you may not have learned before. All right, so let's dive in. And just a little background on me. So I'm a certified health coach, if you don't know that. I studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City. I've also been an essential oils educator since 2006. I'm the creator of the Back on Track Cleanse, which is a nutritional cleanse, and the author of Live Free and Dream. And actually, stress is probably my favorite thing to talk about because it impacts us in so many different ways. Really, when I'm working with someone on their health, a lot of times it's really working with someone on their stress, right? It impacts everything. It impacts the way we eat, the way we feel, how our energy is, how our skin is, our attitude, our relationships, our immune system. So much is impacted by stress. So it's really a key piece of a healthy life, but it's often the piece that we try to deny or ignore the longest, right? So, and I see it all the time where people are like, well, yeah, my job is stressful, but you know, it's just the way it is, right? Like we feel like there's not a whole lot we can do. We might have family stress or financial stress. I don't have to tell you what kind of stress you have. You already know what your stress is, but chances are it's probably affecting you in more ways than you even realize. All right, so these are just some of them, some of the common ways that stress impacts life. And if you're here, I probably don't have to convince you about maybe trying to do something about it, right? The bottom line is we really can't completely avoid stress. Even if you didn't have to work and you had no financial responsibilities, chances are there would be something in your life, a family relationship or a neighbor or something that would be causing stress. So we cannot completely avoid stress. So we must have some kind of plan, either a preemptive plan going into the stressful period or a plan for how to respond once we are hit with stress. Okay, some stress is unexpected and some stress we actually know. Like these next few months, a lot of us know we're heading into stress. So this is the time to actually get ready for it. All right, so let's talk about how we can do that. So I always start with food, and that's just because I'm a foodie and that's my background. But we're going to cover a lot of other things besides food today. But I want you to think about food as a tool, right? So a lot of times we think of food as something we have to do to satiate ourselves, or something that we need for nourishment, or something that we eat for pleasure. But I want you to start shifting your thinking a little about how could I use food to help my body better deal with stress. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you so you don't have to know, all right? The first piece is making a plan to fortify yourself going into stressful times. So right now, we're looking at the holiday season as a stressful time, or maybe it's the winter, right? Like I work at a recovery center, and the guys at the recovery center, they tend to get more depressed in the winter, right? They're not getting outside as much, or it's cold, or it's dark. They might be low in D3. So they need to have a plan, not even so much for the holidays or the financial aspects of the next few months, but more because they're going to be going into a stressful time physically. All right. So Same thing, whether it's, even if it's not wintertime, like I have clients that are in accounting, right? That's their work, bookkeepers and accountants and CPAs, and they have to plan if they want to be healthy during those springtime months leading up to April. They have to plan ahead so that, you know, they have foods available, healthy foods available easily. Maybe they've planned some meals and frozen them, right? They've done things to prepare for that stressful time. Okay, so a lot of times food, our reactions in these stressful times is to grab the quick and easy or to grab the comfort foods, right? Because that pleasure does temporarily offset the stress, right? Having something sweet, having those, you know, yummy, creamy comfort foods will seem to do us good, but they're actually not. They're actually making that whole biochemistry of the stress worse. Okay, so make a plan to fortify yourself. It doesn't mean you can't have any sweets during the holidays. It doesn't mean you can't indulge, but just make a plan for how you're going to get the healthy stuff in and how you're going to make sure you're really infusing your body with nutrients to better deal with stress. Okay, there are a couple things that happen when your body's under stress. It's going to blow through nutrients very, very quickly, right? That's the first thing. And that's why a lot of people will notice when they're stressed, they get more hungry, they eat more. And it's because it's kind of like doing something really intense physically, right? When you're under stress, your body has to use up nutrients very fast to deal with what's happening physiologically. Okay, so that's one thing that happens. And then also when you're under stress, there are changes that happen in your cortisol levels and your serotonin levels, right? And so those things can trigger intense cravings for sugar and carbohydrates, right? So having that plan to make sure you're getting the good stuff in and then staying consistent with your meals. So even if you're going to have, you know, the apple pie and the pumpkin pie and the pecan pie, make sure you're still having 3 meals a day. All right, be consistent with your meals. Don't skip meals. Don't skip breakfast or lunch so that you can have more dessert. Be consistent with your meals. Keep your blood sugar balanced and your serotonin, which is the brain chemical that controls those cravings. Make sure you're keeping those well managed. Okay, and then just be mindful, right? Cravings will strike when we're under stress. If we're prepared for that, we can say, oh, I know why I'm craving this. I know why I'm, you know, about to put down a whole bag of chips. It's because I'm stressed. Okay, and what I really need are nutrients. Okay, I know it's easier said than done. I know, I've been there, don't worry, I know. But if you can start to train yourself to say, all right, I'll have the chips, but first I'm going to actually put some good nutrients in my body and then see how I feel. All right, and you can do those negotiations, but look at food as a tool and a resource to actually use preemptively to prepare for times of stress. And then also when you do feel those cravings, when you feel stressed and you have those cravings, recognize that as a message from your body that you need nutrients. Okay, it's not the sugar or the caffeine that you need, it's actually nutrients. Okay, all right, so that's food. The second one is breathing. Now, that might sound really basic to you, and you might be thinking, well, yeah, I know, of course, breathing, like when you're stressed, like everyone will say, you know, take a deep breath, relax. But the truth of the matter is, if you're not actually breathing right, you might not be helping your stress. And you can do breathing right before you're stressed, and it will actually change the way your body responds to stress when it does happen. And then you can have breathing practices that you can employ when you have those severe moments of stress, and they can have a huge impact on how your body then reacts. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. First thing is you want to breathe in a way that oxygenates your brain. All right, and we're actually going to do a little exercise, a little stress relieving breath exercise right now. So you can take an oil if you want. Essential oils also will oxygenate your brain. If you don't have an oil, that's okay. We just need the ability to breathe right now, but I'm actually going to use an oil. And I'm going to have you just make sure your feet are on the floor and that you're sitting. So if you're sitting in a chair or in a sofa, just allow yourself to be supported by that piece of furniture, right? So rest your back against the back of the chair. I'm going to take a nice deep breath first, just with my oil. All right, and then you can close your eyes or keep your eyes open, whatever's comfortable for you. But what I'd like you to do next is actually put your hand on your belly, okay? And when you inhale, your hand should come away from your body. So your belly should expand. And when you exhale, your belly should come in, all right? So as we're inhaling, we're expanding. As we're exhaling, it's like we're deflating a balloon, okay? Now, most people are not breathing that way throughout the day. So we're already setting ourselves up to be less prepared, less equipped to deal with stress because we're not oxygenating the brain. And when we do oxygenate the brain, it also helps with our cortisol, right? It helps calm down our cortisol. So just breathing the right way regularly is really important and can make a really big difference in how your body responds to stress. All right, so I want you, for the rest of our time together here, I want you to really, you can keep your hand there if you need to, but focus on letting that belly expand as you inhale, and then bringing that navel in toward your spine as you exhale. Okay? And then the other thing that we can learn are specific breathing patterns that can interrupt the stress. So when if you're breathing well, regularly, getting those nice deep breaths, oxygenating your brain, filling your lungs, and then oxygenating your brain, calming down your cortisol levels, your stress response hormone, then when you do have a heightened stress event, whatever it is, right? It could be, somebody backs into you in a parking lot, whatever happens, you can actually do this quick breathing technique just to bring things back into balance, okay? And there are lots of other breathing techniques. I'm just going to teach you one tonight. There are so many different ways that so many different breathing tools that you can use, but this one is one that I think most people can remember, and you can do it anywhere. And you don't have to look strange doing it, right? Like there's, alternate nostril breathing and all kinds of things, but you might not want to do that in public. All right, so the 4-7-8 breath is simply breathing in for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 7 seconds, and then exhaling for 8 seconds. Okay, and there are variations of this as well. Okay, so some people will do it, like a 5-6-8. And you can fine tune it for what works and feels best for you. But the idea is you breathe in for 4, you're going to hold your breath. Okay, and that holding of the breath actually is part of what calms things down. But then you're exhaling for a count of 8. So just try it now. All right, just breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it for a count of 7. And then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. And you would do that several times. Each time that 7 count, that holding of the breath, will be less of a strain, right? So initially it might feel like, oh my gosh, that's a long time to hold, even though it's just 7 seconds. But that will get easier and easier, and you'll notice that you start to flow through that breathing technique, that pattern, more easily. All right. The only time they don't recommend doing this is while you're driving, because it actually can relax you so much that you can be less responsive or less aware of things around you. All right. But if you have, sort of a trigger or an unexpected stress, hopefully you've been breathing well all day, so you're oxygenated and your cortisol isn't heightened. But in that instant that it does kick up a stress response, this is a great breathing technique to just bring things back to calm. Okay, all right, so breathing, and hopefully that's not a super obvious one. Movement, so this is another one that people are like, yes, we know we need to exercise to relieve stress, but let's talk a little bit of details on this. Why is exercise so valuable and so important for stress? It isn't actually necessarily that you need to do really vigorous exercise to reduce stress, right? What we're really looking for with movement is something that raises your serotonin levels, something that increases beta endorphins. So those are both brain chemicals that help you to feel good. Serotonin is the feel good brain chemical. It's the brain chemical that people with depression and anxiety are usually having an issue with, right? And then your beta endorphins are your natural pain relievers for emotional and physical pain, either one. All right, so those are really important, right? So movement can help with both of those. If you're familiar with the runner's high, for runners that get to that point where they feel that euphoric feeling, that's a result of beta endorphins, okay? But you don't necessarily have to do extreme or, you know, high endurance exercise to get the benefits for stress relief. Exercise will stimulate blood flow. It'll also burn through sugar. So if you are stressed and you're eating more sugar or more carbohydrates, it'll help to eliminate those. It does oxygenate the body, cleans the lungs, helps release toxins. But the key with movement that most people don't get, and the reason why it doesn't help them with stress the way that it should, is that they're often doing forms of exercise that they find stressful. Okay, so I have people that, you know, have been clients of mine who are doing these crazy workout routines that they dreaded. You know, they were getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go do this workout that was basically beating themselves with a stick, you know. And so what that was actually doing, even though they were working out hard and sweating and they should have been, you know, releasing all this stress and weight, they were actually raising their cortisol. All right, so if you're going to do movement or exercise, it needs to be something that you enjoy. It needs to be something that you can smile while you're doing it. Okay, because otherwise you're likely to just be raising your cortisol, that stress response hormone, even more and perpetuating that cycle of stress. Okay, and of course, movement outside in nature is even more beneficial, right? That's going to help cleanse the lungs. That's going to help with serotonin levels more so than exercise inside. Okay, but make it something that you enjoy doing. That's absolutely critical. All right. Posture. So this is a funny one because most people, we get to this point and they're like, posture for stress relief? Okay, she's nuts. But this is actually one of my favorite ones to share with people because it's so simple and so effective, right? And I actually am not going to prove this to you. I'm going to see if I can play this quick little clip so that you can see exactly how your physicality changes your physiology, right? This is based on Amy Cuddy. She was a Harvard researcher, and it's all about how your posture affects the way that you feel. It can affect the way you respond to stress. It can affect, you know, well, I'm going to let her tell you. So let's see if this works. And let me know if you can hear it.
So I want to start by offering you a free no-tech life hack, and all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power and dominance? Well, so in the animal kingdom, they are about expanding. So you make yourself big, you stretch out, and humans do the same thing. So they do this both when they have power sort of chronically, and also when they're feeling powerful in the moment. So powerful people tend to be, not surprisingly, more assertive and more confident. Physiologically, there also are differences on two key hormones, testosterone, which is the dominance hormone, and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We decided to bring people into the lab and run a little experiment. And these people adopted for 2 minutes high power poses or low power poses. And I'm just going to show you 5 of the poses, although they took on only 2. This is what happens. They come in, they spit into a vial. We, for 2 minutes, say, you need to do this or this. We then ask them, how powerful do you feel on a series of items? And then we take another saliva sample. Here's what we find on testosterone. From their baseline when they come in, high power people experience about a 20% increase, and low power people experience about a 10% decrease. Here's what you get on cortisol. High power people experience about a 25% decrease, and the low power people experience about a 15% increase. So 2 minutes lead to these hormonal changes that configure your brain to basically be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or really stress reactive. But the next question, of course, is, can power posing for a few minutes really change your life in meaningful ways? And so what matters and where you want to use this is evaluative situations. We decided that the one that most people could relate to was the job interview. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this, right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom. Okay, so we bring people into a lab and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded. They're being judged also. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis. They're blind to the conditions. They have no idea who's been posing in what pose. They end up looking at these sets of tapes and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers. We don't want to hire these people. But what's driving it? It's not about the content of the speech. It's about the presence that they're bringing to the speech. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Tiny tweaks can lead to big changes. Before you go into the next stressful evaluative situation, for 2 minutes, try doing this in the elevator, in a bathroom stall, at your desk behind closed doors. That's what you want to do. Configure your brain to cope the best in that situation. Get your testosterone up, get your cortisol down, and it can significantly change the outcomes of their life. Thank you.
Okay. So, I just want to pause this. Oh gosh. I don't know what that is, but.
So I want to start by
All right, we're back. Okay. Was everybody able to hear that and see that? You can just type it in the chat and let me know. But basically, right, what Amy was saying and sharing is that, oh good, awesome, okay. So that was a super condensed version, by the way. If you want to watch her full talk, it's Amy Cuddy, Nonverbal Expressions of Power, and it's really fascinating to watch the entire thing. But that was a condensed 2 minutes, so she was speaking, sounded like she was speaking super, super fast, but hopefully you got it, right? That literally, just by changing our physical posture, we can either raise or lower our testosterone, which women and men both have testosterone, in case you didn't know that, and it's responsible for feelings of courage, right, and strength. Cortisol, on the other hand, is our stress response hormone, and the higher it is, the more reactive we'll be to stress. The lower it is, the more relaxed and calm and under control we'll be. So she was able to show through this study that literally your posture will change your levels of testosterone and cortisol. So those low power postures, if we're sitting like this all day, hunched over a desk, you are literally raising your cortisol just by doing this, okay? Whereas if you get those shoulders back, maybe when no one's looking, spread your arms in that V or hands on your hips, you're actually going to be helping to raise your testosterone and lower your cortisol. All right, this is a wonderful thing to teach kiddos. This is a wonderful thing to teach people who are in stressful situations regularly, or just for those unexpected moments, right? To just be aware of your posture, make a quick change in your posture, and then combine this with all the other things that we're talking about, and your response and your body's ability to handle stress will be completely different, okay? All right, so passionate positivity goes along, in my opinion, with the posture. So if you can be in that posture, right, and then add some positivity to that with some positive statements, with some affirmations, with some brain training, that would be phenomenal. But the first piece of that in terms of positivity is, who are you listening to? Right? So are you listening to negative things on the radio, on the television? Are you watching the news? Are you listening to people around you, maybe coworkers, maybe neighbors, other moms, whoever it is? If you're listening to people that are constantly sending negative, stressful messages, that's what's going to be programming your brain. Okay? So what we hear, what gets sent into this amazing this amazing think tank in our skulls is subjective to what's being fed into it. Okay, so that's going to make a difference in how you respond to stress. So who do you listen to? All right, and that might be yourself. All right, so you might be saying negative things to yourself all day. You might be putting yourself down. You might be making, a situation more stressful than it actually is. You might be full of worry and fear. Okay, so just remember, we have to filter. Okay, we have to filter everything that gets in here. So what you're watching on television, what you're reading, what you're listening to, who you're hanging around with, right? Who's able to get messaging into your brain, including yourself, right? And there's literally a life or death in your words. So what you're speaking, you're either speaking life over yourself or death over yourself, right? You're either speaking positive or negative, okay? And one is going to help you through times of stress, and the other is going to make them worse, all right? So if you can find that place to do that posturing and changing your posture, even what she said is just a small amount of time, just 2 minutes, right, of time that you could stand in a posture that can change your physiology, and then combine that with I am healthy, I am safe, I am strong, I am free, right? Something positive, right? All is well, right? And start speaking life over your situation, over yourself, over whatever the challenge or the stress is. And you will see it change the way your body responds. Okay. And I always recommend, try doing a fast from negativity, right? And they're going to be those people that, they're the trigger, right? So they'll start talking about something and you're like, oh, I know, and that's so horrible, and this is so horrible. And I talk about it in my book as the victim hot tub, because a lot of times, we can be in that place where we're complaining with other people about what's going on in the world, in politics, in whatever, right? And it's like being in a hot tub, like it's warm and it's comfortable, and some of our friends are in there, but it's, you're not going to get healthy just sitting in a hot tub all day, right? So if you really want to get healthy, you've got to pick yourself up, soggy clothes and all, and get out of that hot tub. Okay, so doing a fast from negativity, being aware and vigilant when those things are coming into your life, a fast from gossiping, from being in that complainer or victim mode. Okay, and that can be life-changing. All right, and it's literally just, you might not be able to stay away from those people, but just don't partake in it, right? Don't partake in the negativity, just zip it. Or zip it. Okay. All right. So passionate positivity, looking at who you listen to, including yourself, your own thoughts, become conscious of those thoughts and begin to change them with more positive statements about yourself, about your life, about your situation, statements that are not filled with fear and worry. Okay. And then fasting, or, taking yourself out of those situations where you're part of that negativity or part of gossiping or complaining. All right, this one's not easy, right? But we work on it a little bit, right? As you become aware, as you start to notice those triggers, those things that get you, then you can start working on those a little bit more each day, okay? All right, so prayer and meditation, whatever it is for you. So some people pray, some people meditate. In my mind, it's, connecting with a higher power. It's connecting with the divine, right? And it's really an opportunity to just be still, to let go of fear, to trust, right? That there is a plan, that all things will work out for the highest good, and to allow yourself to just be in that place of stillness, right? I think what happens so often with stress is that a lot of it has to do with too much to do in too little time. And so we're already running around like crazy, trying to do all this stuff, trying to make it all happen. And that's often, right, what's actually creating the overwhelm. Where if we could just, right, and I've proven this to myself because I was one of those people. I had to do this, I got to get it all done before I can relax. I can't sit and relax until I've got everything on my list done. Well, we all know how that works, right? You never get everything on the list done because there's always something else that comes, right? Something always gets added to that list unexpectedly, or, right, something gets in your way. But what I proved to myself, and this was several years ago, was that if I actually took the time to pray, if I actually took the time to meditate, if I was actually still, I actually got more done. And at least all the important things got done because I was clear-headed. I was able to focus, right? I wasn't spinning my wheels. I wasn't retracing my steps, right? I was actually more focused, more in control, and more directed about what I was doing, right? So that stillness can actually, can be a stress reliever just in the sense that you're going to be still, you're going to breathe, you're going to probably focus on positivity, positive thoughts, right? But it's also going to help you get things done more efficiently, which will then reduce your stress. Okay. There's an old saying that if you have plenty of time, you should meditate for 5 minutes every day. And if you have no time, you should meditate for 30 minutes. All right. And it sounds like a joke, but really, the more stressed you are, the more overwhelmed you are with things to do, the more you need to carve out that time for centering. Okay. So that's prayer and meditation. And number 7, so this is absolutely one of my favorite ones, because if you're here, I think all of you actually that are here today right now are using essential oils. So you know a lot of this already. But for me, essential oils were the quickest way that I could create a change in the pattern in my brain, that I could change my stress response like that, right? And it's because when we breathe in essential oil, it hits the limbic system of our brain within 3 seconds, right? And that's the center of emotions, memory, motivation, and many other things, right? So when someone is in that, or when I'm in that place of stress, literally, that can be enough to interrupt the pattern. Okay, for me, it's that quick, right? Just breathing in an essential oil can make that much of an impact. So it's a great technique. It's a great thing to have on you at all times for that unexpected stress, but they're also great to weave into your life regularly, right? So to diffuse during the day, to diffuse before you go to bed, to use oils in jewelry, to use oils in your skincare routine, right? To actually integrate them throughout your life so that they're actually already working for you before you have that stressful event. Okay, they're actually helping your body and your brain beforehand. Okay, they can also help with focus and grounding and alertness. So sometimes if we just have a lot to do and, we're needing to accomplish a lot, it can take a lot of the stress away if we know that, okay, the oils are going to help me to focus. They're going to help me get grounded and settled. It's kind of like what I was just saying about getting still, right? If you have something that can put you into that place of, okay, I'm ready to actually get things done now, that can help relieve a lot of stress. Okay. And then many people, when they're stressed, have difficulty sleeping, right? Because there's so much whirring around in their heads, and they're going to bed thinking about everything they didn't get done and everything that they need to get done the next day. And so if you have essential oils that help you to sleep, they help you to relax and get into that sleep pattern so that you actually have a restful sleep. That's going to make a huge difference in your cortisol levels for the next day and how your body is then obviously able to handle whatever it is you have to do. Okay, and then oils also can help relieve physical muscle tension. So a lot of times when people have emotional or mental stress, it manifests physically, right? In the shoulders or the neck or the low back or anywhere really, right? But using essential oils to relieve that muscle tension can be wonderful, right? So Panaway or peppermint or wintergreen or Cool Azul or whatever, right? Or the CBD muscle rub can be amazing, because sometimes you might have this mental or emotional stress and you've kind of dealt with it on that level, but your body is still aching, right? Your body still hurts. And then that can create a stress on top of it, a compounding stress, right? Because now you've got this shoulder issue or neck issue, or you're uncomfortable and can't sleep because of it, right? So having essential oils to help with the physical tension can be really beneficial also. All right, so let's just chat about a couple of oils. Some of them are, well, I think most of them you're probably going to know, right? So lavender, you might not know that there are 2 out of the 250 or so chemical compounds. There are 2 natural chemical compounds in lavender that have been highly recognized for promoting relaxation. And that's why they'll actually extract those 2 compounds and put them in a lot of products, sleep-related products, linen sprays, and things like that. But our lavender, Young Living's lavender, has all of those natural chemical compounds because they actually work synergistically, right? So you want all of them. You don't want just the 2. But you can make your own linen sprays with lavender. You can diffuse it. You can use it in your skincare routine before bedtime. You can put it on the bottom of your feet. There's so many ways you can put it in an eye pillow. Lots of ways that you can use lavender. But lavender, just so you know, doesn't work for everybody. So some people find that lavender actually is stimulating. So if you're someone that says, well, I tried lavender and it didn't work, don't give up on essential oils. You might just need a different oil. Okay, you might be one of those people that lavender doesn't work for. All right, Stress Away is one of my favorites. This is a combination of copaiba, ocetea, lime, cedarwood, and vanilla. And it's just a really mild smelling. I just love the way that it smells. So this is a great one also to diffuse. I usually will put it on the back of my neck, bottom of feet, wrists. You can wear it throughout the day. You can make a room spray or a linen spray with that one as well. And it's just a lovely smelling blend. Peace and Calming is another favorite. We just diffused that last night. And that was the blend that my son, when he was in 1st grade, he called that the sleepy oil because he used to have some really tough issues with sleeping. And he still uses it today, actually. So that one I wouldn't recommend in a linen spray just because it has some of the like orange tangerine oils in it, and those can stain your linens. All right, so I wouldn't use that in a linen spray, but you could diffuse it. You can apply it topically. It will have an orange color to it, just so you know. Okay, so those are a couple. I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off. If you want to learn more about how essential oils can impact your brain and your emotions, I do have a text class that will take you through a few more of the details. And that, if you'd like to get that class, you can just text the word feelings, so just that word, feelings, to 631-203-6011. All right, let me just turn off our recording and we can open it up for questions.